Call the meeting to order. Harvey, can you roll call, please?
Absolutely. Tom Flannery.
Here.
Aaron Watterson.
Here.
Kayla Levy.
Here.
Jeremiah Griffith.
Here.
Jason Martin.
Here. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I'd like to welcome everybody, all the visitors here tonight. Looks like we do have one blue card. Jeremiah, just want to remind you, it's 5 minutes. I think Harley will keep the time on that. Jeremiah, you're going to talk about the irrigation planning?
You.
And that is an agenda item, guys. Okay, it's all yours, buddy.
Correct. You're good, I'll stand right here. So, I want you to think about, if you're a sport team, so think about you're the football team right now in the irrigation planning. They're planning to do the irrigation of the softball and the baseball fields in the fall, and the football team in the March, April timeframe. What if that was reversed? What if they decided to do the baseball and softball fields in March and April, and they decided to do the football field in the fall time? You as a team would have no access to your field. You would not be able to host home games or be able to really function in the season that you need to. That is happening to the soccer team. The soccer team is going to lose access to their field for the beginning of the season. They won't be able to use that field to scrimmage, to figure out the game, to be able to know what the layout is, because their practice field doesn't have that access. Multiple games that they're going to be in are going to have to be rescheduled. So before you go to that vote today and that planning, I ask you to really think about the message that you're going to send. To me, and I know it's not intentional, but the message is that football is more important than soccer. That the football team gets to have that moved so that we don't impede on their season, but we will impede on the soccer team's season. And I don't say that lightly, because I know that planning things like this are a pain in the rope, and that you're working around lots of schedules and your jobs are hard. So I don't think in any way that you're trying to make that statement. But the coach couldn't be here tonight to say that, because she was out of town and she felt like, I'm in a no-win situation. And I saw it on there, but I didn't even process that was so close to the season until I started asking some more questions. I was able to email Danny and Nick today, and both of them were able to respond to me, which was great. But when I put a response out that said, why can't we do this later, like in May or June, I didn't get a response
I
back.
did not get that email.
It was to Nick, it wasn't to me.
Okay.
Yep, so I didn't get a response back. The last soccer game is May 9th right now on the schedule, so part of my wondering is, and maybe there is a reason, why can't that be moved back to May and June? So make sure that the soccer team can have access to their field for their entire season. So, that's it, that's all I have.
All right, thanks, Jeremiah.
Thank you. All right, have a great day.
Thanks. We'll move to board reports.
First up tonight, I have a department leader report from Mr. Waldron.
All right, so I didn't bring enough handouts for everybody, but you guys have one there. Just a couple things for the athletic side of it. You know, obviously this year we had some great happenings thus far. You know, football team won a district championship, volleyball, you know, we had a new coach, we're building a new system, we got a ton of girls, I think we're right around 40 girls out for the volleyball team. Cross country, this was the first year, you know, we had the most kids out that we've had since I've been here, and I know since Luke's been here. I'm very, very happy with that. Basketball, the girls hosted a first round playoff game this year, which again hasn't happened in the 4 years I've been here. So we're seeing continuous improvement there. The boys again are playing tomorrow night in the district championship game. Wrestling had a great weekend this weekend in the dual states. So as far as athletics go, I think we're in a great spot. We have a musical coming up at Co College is actually hosting for us. And I know Joe's been putting in a lot of hours with those kids, so things are going really well on the activity side. The handout that I gave you guys is just kind of what we've talked about the last few years, a little participation kind of survey here. For people who don't know, this kind of just breaks down kind of where we're at, how many kids we have participating in not only sports but band, choir, FFA. And we were able to finish last year's full season once baseball got over. This year, obviously, kind of a timing of this, we're only halfway through the school year, so we don't have all of our data yet. But just some numbers I'd like to highlight for you guys. In fall, for our fall sports seasons, and that's volleyball, football, cross country, 43% of our high school students participate in one of those sports. I kind of looked back. I started this my first year here, so the 1920 school year, which some of those numbers, that was kind of the COVID startup, so some of those numbers are a little bit skewed, but if you look back, which you guys don't have that original one, we had 52% of high school students who were out for those sports. Now, I look at that, yes, our numbers have gone down a little bit, but if you look at the total number of students that we have in the high school, in 1920 it was 194. This year, we have 228 students. So, we are getting more students, and I think, not all of them are going out for sports, so that affects that percentage a little bit there. But I still feel 43% is a pretty good percentage. I'd like to get it up if we can. We're always trying to continue to build things. We've talked about starting, like next year having just a freshman basketball team, because we have big numbers in basketball. Same thing with wrestling. This is the first year we probably could have had a full JV team and sent them to tournaments. So we're talking about maybe getting just a JV coach and letting the JV team wrestle a full season that we haven't been able to in the past with some of the coaching that we've had. So junior high numbers look really good. We had 55% of our junior high students participate in football, volleyball, or cross country. And there's 127 of those middle schoolers. So again, if we're staying above 50%, I think that's really good for us. And we were about the same. We were 59% back in 1920 school year. The winter sports, again, this is last year. We had 40% of our high school students doing a winter sport. That's basketball, wrestling. We also included palms and wrestling cheer in there. So the 40% of our high school students are participating in the winter time. 51% of our junior high students. So, again, we're staying above the 50s in junior high school. Hopefully we can keep raising those numbers as we go. In the spring, last year we had 36% of our students. We only offer, track, soccer, golf, so there's one less sport there. So that kind of skews the numbers a little bit. So there was 36% of high school students, but in junior high, we only offer track. And we had 61% of our junior high students that go off for track. And obviously is why we kind of needed another third coach for junior high track this year too. Just because we have great numbers in junior high. And that's, not only because we have some pretty good coaches down there, but the kids like to stay active and want to do some things that time of year, and that's really their only option. In the summer sports, numbers kind of take a hit here. Obviously, it's only one sport. It's baseball for the boys, softball for the girls. And we had 21% of our high school students that either play baseball or softball. And then 41% of our junior high students go out for baseball or softball. And I think, obviously there's numerous reasons in the summer why some people go out, some people don't, jobs, all that kind of stuff. But we're only limited to 2 sports as well. So I think that's kind of why our numbers are down a little bit from there. Talking about, band and choir, high school band, we only have 11% of our high school students that are in high school band this year. That's up actually 1% from 1920 school year. We have 41% of our middle school students in band. We had 30% back in the 1920 school year. So middle school is going up, which I think will have the high school numbers go up as these kids are growing and get through the system. For choir, 21% of our high school students are in choir. And back in 1920, we had 37% of our high school students in choir. Again, we have more numbers now, so that kind of skews the percentages a little bit. But middle school, again, 49%. This includes 6th grade with our middle school for band and choir. There's 49% of the middle school students in choir compared to 38% back in 1920 and 20. So again, I think we'll see those band and choir numbers keep improving. FFA, same way. We had 55 students in FFA this year, which was 27% of our students, and back in 1920 there was 62. So you know, it's right there, pretty much the same numbers in FFA. So those programs, again, hopefully we can keep continuing to grow. You know, our band program, our choir program. I know our band teacher is fairly new, so Mr. Eiler, I think he'll keep improving and growing those numbers. And I know he does. He's here all hours of the night. You know, I'm here often, and I see him. You know, not quite as much as me, but I see him here quite often. So I know he's putting time in, and he's really developing that band program. And same with Joe with music or with choir. He had to practice tonight in the wrestling room because you know they got a musical coming up, and he just wanted to get those kids a rehearsal. And he said, I'll do whatever we need to. Since there's a junior high game, we'll go in the wrestling room. And he was there still when I left at 6 o'clock to come to the meeting. So, you know, our coaches, our music teachers, our band teachers, our FFA sponsor, you know, they're all doing a great job really trying to encourage participation. And you know, the numbers are showing. There's obviously a few things on here, and you guys have the sheet where it breaks down each sport. There is definitely some sports that we would like to really try to improve the numbers on. Soccer is one of them that we've always had kind of low participation. I know we're not the host school in soccer, CBC is, so I don't know, you know, we're trying to find different ways just to kind of get the word out there about soccer. Because you know some of our students, you know, may just not even know how to go about becoming a soccer player with, you know, CBC being the host school. So that's one that we're really trying to hit on. And then cross country for the girls has always kind of been kind of low on numbers. I know it's really improved this year. We had a couple kids go out for the first time, and that really brought more with them. So we're hoping that keeps going up. So that's about all I have. At the end of this year, I will have a 4-year breakdown. Be my 4th year once baseball and softball are over, and then we can kind of put together some 4-year kind of the freshman through senior year. We won't really know exactly what students stayed out, but we'll know. You know, okay, so the freshmen, the football team, there were 17 as freshmen. When they're seniors, there was 10, or there was 23, kind of just see some numbers like that to see how our sports are growing and hopefully continuing to grow. So that's all I have, unless you guys have anything for me.
No, it looks good. It's a good way to keep track of how individual sports are developing or decreasing here at the school. And I like your other idea about possibly expanding that with the basketball or whatever. We always used to have 2 teams when we were younger. We had an A and a B team, and they actually played independent games from each other.
Yeah, like junior high, I mean, that's something we should probably look at as well, just because, I mean, tonight we played, and we have 15 kids on our bench, and the big problem right now, just being in the conference we're in, a lot of the other schools just don't have that big a team. But there are people, Cedar Rapids schools, we're close by, that we could get games for them. So, yeah, that's definitely would be something to look at.
Statewide, are the numbers up or down as far as the big picture?
The big picture, I think the numbers are up for the most part in sports. The problem is the small schools are really going down, and that's kind of taken away from, schools like us that are growing. If we go, Center Point, all these Shellsburg, I mean, they are like us. I mean, they have plenty of kids with, can definitely get games. It's just right now with where we're at and who we're scheduled against, that kind of.
Yeah, so to that point, then like junior high football, I think we had a conversation about maybe that was Josh, I can't remember what we're talking about. Junior high football only being able to play 1 game because our conference schools don't have enough in each class. Are we gonna start trying to
So,
jump out and do some of that?
yeah, so what we, and I know Danny, the superintendents got together, I think it was maybe last year, or the year before, because Lisbon was kind of in our same boat with, they were on the other side of the conference. So if we play, say we're playing, say we're playing Northland, and they can only play one game, or 6 quarters, we have the opportunity, we would still play them one game, but for our other, like, so if we're playing them an 8th grade game, yes, for our 7th grade game, we can go out and pick someone up. Last year, we did do that with Dyersville Beckman. We went and picked up Dyersville Beckman and played them for our 8th grade to kind of add a game in there because they lost one against somebody, I don't remember who, so.
So we're
Yes.
working on that now. It looks like a junior high number.
Yeah, the problem right now is none of these other schools know what their numbers are gonna be until, you know, the season starts. So they can't tell you, we're playing 2 games, we're playing 1 game, until, you know, maybe a week before, or 2 weeks before the season starts. And then we're kind of scrambling, trying to find somebody else who's kind of in our boat, so.
How that work, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of, you know, but it seems like we've always been able to, we're just in a good location that we've always been able to pick something up, but yeah, it gets tough, because you get down to, you know, you got 2 weeks before the first game, and all of a sudden Lisbon tells you we can only play 1 football game.
Yeah.
A lot of the other schools have already got all their schedules, so, there's not a good way to do that right now. It'd be nice to know now that, you know, junior high football, Lisbon's only gonna play 1 next year, but, you know, they probably have an idea, but then all of a sudden they get, you know, 5 kids go out that weren't going to, so.
Okay, more from you?
I think it looks good. Thanks, Nick.
All right, thank you.
We have 2 curriculum reports this evening because we took some things from January. So first, I'll just take them the way they're listed on the agenda. So Special Education Department is here to speak first.
You guys can go, let's go youngest to oldest.
Well, I'm the oldest.
I meant in terms of kids.
I'm the oldest. Okay. I'm Lynette Kramer, one of the elementary resource teachers.
Hannah Davidson, also elementary resource teacher.
Yeah, we didn't prepare anything formal. We kind of talked about what's been happening in our room and what are our focuses. Co-teaching continues to be one of our big ones. We are in every grade level of math representing, and it's a good way for us to get into the classrooms and see how our students are doing in the core curriculum and help to bridge the gap with that.
Along with co-teaching, we've been able to do a lot of collaboration with our resources that we have. I think here at Alburnett, something that's very beneficial about us is that we share kids. So we have a student that I have for reading, and Lynette might have them for math, and that's something that we're able to consistently collaborate and then see the student as a whole and continue to bounce ideas off of each other.
We have seen an influx of students in elementary. I think we've added 10 kids to our
We counted
program.
14 altogether.
Is that with goal areas?
From the beginning of the year, so new to the district and just students who have been at Alburnett, but we added a math or reading or adaptive behavior goal. We've seen over about 14 students added.
That's a lot to add to our program. We've never done that, and all of my years have really even been close to that.
Which is exciting.
Yeah.
We say a lot of our job is we try to run ourselves out of a job. Right now, we're kind of getting more coming our way though, but we'll continue to get them where they need to be.
So how many kids do you guys see total in the elementary then?
Over 20?
It's over 20 for sure. We have individual rosters, so like I can tell you how many kids are on mine, and I guess I don't know for sure to add them all up. I mean, we're well into the 20s now with adding all of those kids.
And there's some who have just reading, some who have just math, some who have just adaptive behavior, some that have math and reading. So there's lots of variations to each of the students and what their needs are.
So my understanding that it went from like 5 to 20, am I misunderstanding that?
No. At the beginning of the year, do you think we were at 14 or 15 kids? I think we're probably getting close to 30 with what we've added. Yeah, we we've had a couple leave too. I can think of 2 we've lost since Christmas, so, yeah. Yeah, so we're busy, but that's good. Yeah. Questions about anything happening on our end?
Okay, well, I'm gonna talk, my name's Nicole Stevens, I do middle school and I do high school, so I'm gonna talk about both of them individually, because we are 2 separate departments, I guess. So in the middle school right now, we're really focusing on co-teaching as well. We push into math and English right now. We really like that we're able to differentiate instruction, and a lot of times the things that we can bring help all the students, not just our own students. We are able to see the accommodations for tests, modifications that we need to make, and then it also prevents the label of special ed, non-special ed. Because we'll pull kids out and it's a mixture of our kids and gen ed kids. It's okay, I'm gonna take some kids to my room. If you wanna come, follow. If you want a quieter space for your test, let's go here. So it's not, special ed is being pulled from the classroom or anything like that, or I'm only working with the special ed kids. I stand up there, teach a lesson to everyone. Kids ask questions to both teachers. And it's taken a lot of work to get there. It's not an easy thing to do. Teachers don't like to give up control of their classroom, and sometimes that's what they feel like. We're hoping to push into social studies and science next year, because that's where a lot of our reading comprehension is. That's where our kids are struggling. It's not the English classroom, it's the science and social studies stuff. And that's where we get the content vocabulary, that's where we get the comprehension skills, the close reading strategies that we teach them. That's where we're seeing if it's working or not working. So we're hoping to bridge that next year. And then in the high school, that's where we really start focusing on the transition stuff, and we work closely with Voc Rehab for the kids that want to work with vocational rehabilitation. And right now they're offering, I would say maybe 7 or 8 of our kids a customer service academy. So she's coming to Alburnett and she's meeting with this group of kids, and they will leave with a certification that they can put on their application for a job that says that they have taken this program. And it just teaches them how to do any customer service, whether it's in a customer service job or in a trade job, or just how do we have customer service. So she is coming to Alburnett and she meets with our kids. Our first one is this week on Wednesday, the 23rd. So, that would be Thursday, right? 23rd? I don't know, it's the 23rd of this month. It's this week sometime. So she is gonna come meet with our kids during that, and hopefully then we can have something to put on resumes, and then she helps them look for summer jobs and jobs beyond any sort of thing that we can personally provide for them here. So that's what we're doing in the middle school and high school. Do we have any questions? We see about 30, I would say we're in the 30s. By the time we have added kids and then exited kids, we've exited a couple this year. The elementary.
Have you seen the same increase as the elementary has?
Nope. We, our increase usually we don't add a lot of kids once they get to middle school or high school. Our kids come from that they're open enrolled. So we'll have a kid join Alburnett a semester and they have an IEP. So that's more of what we see. Very rarely do we have a kid that's adding into special education at middle school. Usually they've already been identified in the elementary. Very rarely does it pop up that it happens in the middle school. So we don't see the influx that they see. We usually are saying bye to some kids at this point. So we've gotten to say bye to a couple kids this year, which has been very exciting, and we'll probably say goodbye to at least some goal areas. Our goal is to get kids that are really close out the door. That's our goal for middle school, is to make it so that the high school special ed teachers don't have anybody to teach. So
you said you had about 30-ish?
Yep, 30 middle school and high school. That's together, yep. We see about. And we do have specific, I teach high school, and then another man teaches high school, and then we have 2 middle school, and I also do middle school. So 3 middle school and 2 high school, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. So, any other questions? Okay.
All right, social studies team, you're up.
Yeah, I'm Lindsay Prokop, I teach second grade here, and I'm gonna tell you what K2 is doing with social studies. So we do kind of similar things, it just kind of grows as they go through the grades. So we teach them about holidays around the world, we talk about wants and needs, what is it to be a good citizen. We also talk about voting, and we do some voting activities with like cookies or things like that, just so they kind of know. And we also have junior achievement, so people from our community come in and teach kids lessons, so that happens at every grade level. So that's kind of what we do in K2.
And then I'm Alexis Krieger, and I'm going to talk about 3 to 5. So I'm a 4th grade teacher, but I'm going to start with the 3rd grade, and they kind of let me know what they wanted me to add. But they are covering immigration, westward expansion, forced migration, and they have started integrating some of their learning into their reading instruction, and they've noticed that the kids are really enjoying hearing stories that explain the country's past. And then for me, as a 4th grade teacher, I started teaching regions, so states and capitals. I've also seen a really good spike in engagement with the states and capitals, especially with like travel. A lot of them have like ways to connect to it. And then we've also added in Continental Railroad, the Civil War, and we're moving to Iowa agriculture next. And then 5th grade, they focus mainly on American history, which is then cycled back in high school, so they go on a deeper dive in high school. Any questions on social studies?
What's cookie day?
It's coming up.
Are you vote for a cookie?
I think for us, it's a little different. I think between the 3 of us, we probably do 12 different classes, and so I think just theme-wise, the last few years, probably the 3 biggest things have been primary, secondary sources. Teaching the kids what primary, secondary sources are, why they're beneficial, how you would look at them, how you would know what a good primary, secondary source is, and then incorporating all of those into whatever content we're doing, you know, how to properly use those. Another big thing would be the race writing strategy this year. That's been really incorporated at the high school level. I know has really helped Mr. Allen and I specifically with kids writing.
Yeah. And with that, we're working with the high school English teachers also, and this kind of gives the students a cross-curriculum approach to communicating, being able to read a question, answer it using facts. This is the big thing we're emphasizing now, and this time is facts. Facts-based and citation, and make sure that when you present a point of view, it's a fact-based point of view. And like I said, with being with the English department, it's across, kids are used to the strategy, and I think it's working really well.
In the middle school area, we're also doing that, incorporating the writing on their assessments. So they use the same strategy. I work with Mr. Marshall and Mr. Shoemaker, and we kind of go over some of the things about what we're seeing, what I'm seeing. I don't really grade them so much about the punctuation and things like that. I'll let him do that type of thing, but I'm looking for mainly the points that they're making to support their ideas or their, how they feel about immigration or population pyramids, the population going down in Europe, that type of thing. So that's how we're using it. And one of the things I try to stress is, you know, using things cross-curriculum. As far as when you're in language class, you have to bring that knowledge to social studies class, to math class, to science, because writing has really been a big push in our area.
I think as of 5 minutes ago, we're strongly considering adding a cookie day. Is that what you're saying? Sounded like a really good idea.
Cookies and facts.
Yes, absolutely.
I really like the idea of the cross-curriculum. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works because you guys talked about it, and so like, are the teachers getting together in one classroom, or are they?
Yeah, I know for us, we switched this year to PLC time. Previously was the 3 of us, which was great, but then this year Mr. Howe and I are with the English teachers. And so really, they've been teaching us the race riding thing, and kind of like, I do a lot of, because I like examples for the kids, so I like to think I'm an okay rider, but I show them like my example, like, hey, is this like what you guys want? And they're like, yeah, and then like we share examples of the students work together. Like just last week, we went over a bunch of, my kids answered use the race riding strategy for if we should explore and colonize Mars, because it was related to what we were doing in world history. And so I think just, yeah, if that answers your question.
You said the thing about history is a lot of it's a reading course too. So in
Makes sense.
literature and novels, we've even discussed approaching team teaching novels down the road. You got All Quiet on the Western Front, you got great historical novels written, and they read them in their modern lit classes, and so I can take the historical aspect to it, and they can take the literature aspect. And like C says, they can correct all the writing. So, yeah, it's just tailor-made. English
Over.
is history.
Sorry, Jeff. Over several months now, we've heard multiple references to the race writing theory, just so there's no misunderstanding. Whoever wants to take that, it stands for something. It's not about race.
I know.
It's race,
Took me a while.
not theory.
Yeah.
It's just restate and answer the question, cite evidence, RAC.
Say that again?
Restate and answer the question, that's R and A, and then the C and the E is cite your evidence. So just a real basic, really good way to, because we tell the kids, like, most of you probably aren't gonna grow up and be a writer or anything, but you might be selling something, and that's what you're gonna have to do as a salesman, or you're gonna have to convince someone of something, and this is how you do it. You cite your evidence, you kind of restate how you want them, the answer to be, and then you cite your evidence, and that's how you convince people of stuff.
And you stress the fact base. Good to have an opinion. Opinions are great, everyone's got one. But, you know, you want to be able to support it.
And that's one of the things that, one of the beginnings of the year, they always teach these motivation ideas. Everything's done through motivation, whether it be for money, whether it be for family, whatever. Everybody's got a motive, multiple motives, mostly. So like even when we're talking things about history, why did the Spanish want to conquer the New World? Well, it was money. They wanted riches, okay? They wanted power. So those were some of the things that we're talking about. We talked about the Puritans and that sort of group. They wanted religious freedom. So that was their motivation to come into America. So, and then being able to defend why they think that. So I get a lot of times I get a question, well, there's no really great answer. Just tell me why you think. What was the motivation behind it?
Defend your opinion.
Yeah.
With facts.
With facts.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff we do where it's, the kid can have.
Your top two
answers.
opinions are not with facts.
Not Wikipedia.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm gonna take those. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, that's right.
That's good.
Who's going first?
I think we're kind of going together in this one, so we're going to talk about our Human X survey. Do you?
Yeah, do you want that out now?
Yeah. No, I'm going to just talk about that. So while Dr. Trimmel's passing that out, I'll kind of start with the why behind this engagement survey. Obviously, some concerns were brought to our attention earlier this year, and one of the things we wanted to do with that is get some information from our students, all of our students. So we did this 3 through 12 about their experience at school. We wanted to make sure we had that, so then we can take a look at that data and along with the concerns that were brought up, start to really dive in and look at what we need to do to make some decisions about what that data showed us, right? So we worked with a company called Human X. They specialize in gathering this type of data and for organizations, and they created a survey for our 3rd through 12th grade students. Students were asked a variety of questions in the areas of fairness, self-esteem, classroom management, perceptions of the principal, belonging, engagement, feedback, perceptions of the teacher, safety, survival needs, relevance, satisfaction, and choice.
And in that survey, what it is, each student had 63 questions, and they were on a Likert scale. And if you've ever taken a survey, you get 5 points, either strongly disagree or all the way to strongly agree. And every student did do that 3rd through 12th grade. And when we met with the Human X survey, person with the feedback that gave us our feedback, they basically said anything that's above a 3 is in a good spot for your school to be at. Obviously, you want to continue to grow and do the things from your data, but she just said when it's a 3 or above, things are headed in the right direction. And so when we look at ours, especially at the high school level, and I'm going to talk about the high school level, is our 4 top areas were self-esteem, belonging, feedback, and safety. And I thought those were an interesting top 4 for the high school. And I think what it says to me is as the high school principal, that's kind of what I felt that would be. And it was nice to be reassured through students' effort, through their answers, that they're feeling the same way that I'm feeling, and that I'm not so out of touch with my school. And so I felt really good about that. I did get some aha moments out of there, obviously, and the aha moments came with relevance and choice. Relevance really goes hand in hand with what we've been talking about with our students right now. We get a lot of questions of, Mr. Moritz, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to take geometry? Why do I have to take English 2? I'm getting a lot of questions about that because they're not seeing how it affects them later down in life. And I think one of the aha moments when I got the survey was on the relevance part. We were at a 2.84, which is below 3. And so that's an area where I think me and my staff, we need to start looking at how can we make relevant, how can we make school more relevant and they can see it down the road. Mr. Winter and I had a triad today, and we were talking about that relevance, and we were talking about how age helps see the relevancy, because he goes, when I was in school, I didn't like science, but now I'm just fascinated by it. And so what we're trying to do is, using this data and this survey, is how can we help our students see how what we're doing here is relevant to their lives, and how we're going to improve it as well. I mean, that's obviously a point to that as well. So that was the big aha moment for me. And then I kind of went into the next steps already, is we're going to use this data, and then we obviously want to get better in each and every spot. Well, there's 13 dimensions there, I believe. Just because we're above a 3 in them doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to strive to get better.
Yeah. Maybe I missed something there, but, so that's different than the sheet is that we've got.
No, it's not. I'll give you a run through of your packet. So the first few pages are the district-wide data, and then you'll see the elementary section, middle school section, and high school section. And because he just launched, which was great, I quickly found his page and put it on the screen.
So if you go to the third,
Best for last, of course.
After the page I'm showing on the screen for each of you is a complete rundown of every item from the survey itself.
So how was satisfaction, how was that worded? What type of questions were?
Well, if you look in your packet there, it'll tell you exactly what questions were in each category.
So for example, turn the next page to question number 28. When I have a great teacher, I tell others about it. It's a satisfaction question. I can see that off on the left, right.
28.
They're,
Oh, right up here?
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
I just picked the first one to highlight.
Right here. Right here, satisfaction.
So these aren't in order.
Okay.
They're in order
Okay,
by.
so that's just the first satisfaction.
They're in with those headings that talk about it. They're not in order. There is a page that is in order.
I had a question too, Brian. Was this 100% of the students, right?
Well, I got, out of the 250 students I had, I think we were at 201 that took it, that test, or the survey. And basically.
Pretty high
it was-
majority.
Yeah, I was happy with 201. I mean, most of my seniors, you know, with Kirkwood, with job, work experience, that kind of stuff, that was probably the class that had the least amount of participation, but they're also the smallest. And so, but for 201 out of 250 kids, I felt pretty good about those results.
When we do survey research, we do something called statistical significance, that your N size is large enough to properly represent your entire population. And they would leave the survey open if we had not met our statistical significance, and we were well beyond that early on. So if you can take these to be statistically representative of your entire population.
Pretty similar numbers in elementary and.
Yeah, the only reason somebody wouldn't have taken it in elementary is if they were gone that day, so I imagine if I would have.
Probably even higher than,
Well, it's at the top of each section, you'll see the N size. So for example, district-wide, let me get back up to the top. Your N size is 532.
Oh, okay.
Each
Oh,
section
gotcha.
will show you that.
Yeah, we were at 140, yeah, so we would have been almost at 100% in the elementary.
In middle school, I think we have 192, 193 middle school students and 184. Okay, so almost every kid.
192 is how many kids?
In the middle school, I believe, yeah. And I can talk about middle school a little bit. I guess I'll start with the growth area first, and I'll get to the really fun stuff. If you're on the middle school section, the part that has the rank order questions, it starts with 56 and then 15, so out of order, but they rank those by the score on the survey, on that mean score, so from high to low. So if you go to the last page of middle school, the lowest score was in class. I get to choose the activities I work on. So student choice is something that I wanted to focus on for the rest of this school year. In the last early out Friday, we had, I met with middle school staff. We talked about student choice and how can we incorporate student choice into the classroom. It doesn't always have to be a, hey kids, what do you want to do today? It can be, instead of here's your activity today, it can be, I need you to give me a presentation. You want to do a slideshow, video, this or this. Give them some form of choice to grasp onto that maybe invites them a little bit more. So just giving them a little bit of a say in how they're learning. Obviously we have our teachers that they have their standards they want our kids to meet, but there is room for choice in that. So working with staff on that student choice was a big takeaway. One thing that I'm extremely proud of is if you go to the first page of those rank order questions, just in the top maybe 10, 12, the highest scores, it's about our staff and our teachers and all of the great things that they do. The second best, or how you want to word it, one on here, my teachers want me to be a successful person. So our kids really feel that our staff want them to be successful. Down the list, my teachers care about my health, my teachers treat me with respect, my teachers believe in me, those are all in the top 10. And these are all of our kids' opinions, I sleep really well at night knowing about the adults we have in our building and who's working with our kids when we get this kind of feedback about our teachers. So overall, I was very happy with what we had on here. Obviously, we want to get better and grow in some of those lower areas, like Mr. Morton said, but really happy with the takeaways from middle school.
Now, are these all independent, elementary to middle school to high school, they're all independent scores?
Yeah.
Not compiled together?
Except for the very first
page.
We have it multiple ways.
Yeah.
Yep, you could look at it as a 3rd through 12th all compiled, or you could look at it just elementary, just middle school, just high school to see it broken down.
I thought maybe, Adam, you'd want to focus on the perceptions of the principal there. 4.04.
Don't encourage
I promise that I did not bribe any.
I I was kind of mad about that, to be honest with you, but I look at my actual score, it's
Oh.
higher than yours. I am gonna find those 6 kids that didn't put me as yes. So no, elementary wise, some of the takeaways are very similar. I felt like, you know, the students believe that the teachers treat people fairly and listen to them when there are issues. They believe that the teachers want them to be successful, teachers believe in them and respect them, and that they have friends at school who care about them. And students believe our teachers care about them and make them feel welcome in their class. The things that I wonder about are similar to these guys, you know, around relevance and choice, and some of that's a little challenging in elementary because there are just some things you've got to know and got to do, but I met with the 3rd through 5th grade teachers on Thursday, when was I here this week? Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't remember. Wednesday, and we talked about some of that relevance and choice and how we can, you know, really help kids understand why they're doing things even at a young age, and it can be more than because you need it next year, or because you'll need it when you get to the real world. So there's some ways that we can do that. A couple interesting ones, you'll see that in survival needs, the students say that they don't have a lot of energy during the day or to start their school day. And I guess my opinion is, and right, wrong, or otherwise, I think that's important for parents to see, because I don't necessarily think that that's an issue that happens at school. It comes to school with that issue. So, you know, I don't know if that's the myriad of activities that kids are in or what it is, but that was pretty significant that kids are feeling like they don't have energy at school or to start their school day. So, you know, we can do things like breakfast and things like that, but that's a little bit out of our control. So I'd love to work with parents or start to think about ways that we can help with that, because if you're starting your day with no energy, of course, your whole day you're not going to feel like you have energy. So want to really think about that one and how we can help with that.
Well, with that, how do you, does this get, results of this get out to parents? How does that?
Yeah, we've had some people request, but yeah, absolutely.
How does the message get to the parents about that from that standpoint?
I'm not sure yet. That's what I want to, you know, we've had this for a week or so, and I want to dive into the best way to kind of not make it sound like, see, it's your fault the kids are, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Will it be included in our minutes?
It's a public document now that it's been released. We just want to think about what's the best way to make it understandable.
Right.
Just seeing this without context, what do the numbers mean? And so we want there to be a narrative around it. We just need some time.
There would
It's
almost have
not
to be.
secret.
It almost have to be some kind of interchange, because even like us up here, looking through this, you've seen how misplaced we were in the first 5 minutes of you guys telling us what was, we're like, wait a second, that's not what this page says,
It's
you
gonna
know?
take a few minutes to just digest
Yeah.
those questions. Some of the questions, it's like choice, for example. Sometimes you don't have a choice. You just do what you're told.
And they ask it in several different ways, I think, and so that it gives it a better, like, I'll use this as an example. One of the lowest in the elementaries, I feel comfortable talking to my principal, but part of me is like, that's probably okay, because, you know, some of those kids probably don't feel comfortable talking to me, and others do, but, you know, if it was, of course there are kids that are gonna be like, oh, I don't wanna go talk to him, and then they're gonna put that, right? I hope anyway, if that's why, but.
Well, the one question on here says, does the teacher let you in the bathroom?
So what's funny about that one, Jason, is that the lady told us that we have the highest score she's ever seen. And my teachers let me go to the bathroom and my teachers let me get a drink. But she basically said, like, that shows students and shows parents and, you know, that you care about them and you care about their well-being. So it's interesting. She's like, you guys have the highest score I've ever seen for, you can go get a drink. Okay. So, yeah, again, there's some things in here that we need to really focus in on, and I think choice and voice, and some of that is some of it relevance, and, but, you know, again, I feel like our teachers, this shows our teachers doing what they can to make the kids feel safe and secure and challenged and all those things, so.
So what is the plan to do with, I mean, I'm sure you don't have the nitty gritty details, but high level, like what is it's great information now, what do we do with it?
Yeah.
Well, I think at the high school, I think one of the things that we are starting down the track with is our 3DE, through junior achievement, that Danny and I and Christine went to DC to experience, and that's part of my board report coming up. But that's one more thing that I think is gonna give our students that relevance piece and that choice piece, and being able to really experience that as a total group of high school students instead of bits and pockets, which I'm really excited to tell you more about here shortly. But that would be one thing we're looking at. And I think when Adam said, you know, not necessarily giving them a, hey, do you want to do this today? But here's the choice of, are you a really good presenter? Can you do a PowerPoint? Can you do this? And giving them the choice to do different activities to show us that they know the standard and they know the material that has been taught. I think that would go for a long ways.
And so many of the things you heard tonight can be intertwined. You know, when Nicole was talking about accommodations for students who have an IEP, I mean, just that choice. If you're a student who really struggles with writing, maybe you can create a video of you speaking about a presentation instead. You know, if maybe you get really, really bad stage fright, you can create a different style of presentation. So they need to learn X, Y, and Z. That is non-negotiable, but how they do that, and then we can also look at kind of the whole child. We're a small enough school, we know everybody here. We can really help kids get to where we want them to be through those different types of activities.
And I think that to add on to Adam also is not always let, it kind of seemed like, we're not gonna let the kid off for giving the presentation. But if they know that they're struggling with that, then that's a growth area for them in our portrait of graduate work as well. That over time, I do it in front of the camera, now you're gonna do it in front of the teacher and the view. And then by the end of that year, or the end of that time, you're giving that presentation in front of the group, because everybody's gonna have to get up and talk to somebody at some point. Whether you are a salesman, whether you are a mechanic, or whether you're a teacher, or principal, whoever, you're gonna have to be able to communicate, you're gonna have to be able to feel comfortable to get up and talk in front of people. That's just the world we live in, and I think us here at Alburnett really have an opportunity to know our students and help them grow, instead of just going, you know what, you really stink at giving a presentation, so I'm gonna give you a 0. That's not the point of what we're trying to do. We're preparing them beyond these walls, and when they walk out of this school, we want them to know that they've got the top-notch educational piece that everybody wants to come to Alburnett to get that. And I think we're on the right track, and I feel good about what we're doing.
To me, it's, you know, as adults, it's when Jeff talked about motivations, you know, I think a lot of us, the motivation is why. Why am I doing this? Why is this important? And I think we can do a better job of showing kids that. And again, not just saying you're gonna need it next year when you hit this real world that they obviously apparently live in now, but that's my first thing, is how do we help students with that? And then I think secondly, you know, I wanna make sure people understand that if there are 8 kids on here that said no in an area, not that I really wanna go find those 8 kids about the principal, but kinda do, but what I really wanna do is, still, we gotta focus on those things too, right? Because that doesn't mean there are 8 kids out there that are feeling a certain way about things, and we, you know, I might not be able to identify those kids, but we can still look at those areas where we feel really good about and say, not good enough yet, because that's not 0 there, you know. So I think that's the other thing, is just I think this is important to look at, and maybe we have another survey that the state has us do, and using both of those to really, you know, really look at what we can, maybe it's little small tweaks here and there that we can start to do.
Would that be a comparison to, is there a way to compare it to other schools on this?
This one, I don't think so, I'm not sure.
I was just reading, it was kind of, you know, amusing or whatever on some of the things. I was going back and forth between those, and all the numbers just slipped just a little bit. I don't think it's anything to be anything alarming, but you know, well, my friends missed me at school. You know, you go from 4.17 or whatever to, you know, 3.5, you know. You know, principal, what do you think about the principal? 4.8 to 3.6, you know, whatever. Just kind of, everything just kind of shifts a little bit. But I was just wondering, like, high school, you know, elementary to elementary, where we were at within, like, the state, what these numbers meant. If, I guess I was just more comparing apples to apples. I know kids get older, they think differently about other things and what they did when they were in elementary. I mean, while it's neat to see this here in the numbers, I just was curious where we were at
on a school-to-school?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a national company, and I don't know how many like schools in Iowa that do this, and they tailor it a little bit to your, so we met with them before, before they gave the survey and kind of talked about, some of the things that were brought up as concerns and what we were looking for, and they not tailored the questions to that, but wanted, they took that input. So I don't know that the surveys would necessarily be identical from, so I think it'd be apples to oranges a little bit, but, yeah, I don't know.
Is this survey something we're gonna do every year? Or how often will this be taken so we can maybe see a trend?
Ideally, it would be each year. There's a cost with it, so
Okay.
we would probably just have to wait and see. The one that we will have access to every year is conditions for learning that I think you just mentioned. It's a little bit different, but it's another data point that doesn't cost.
Similar questions.
I have to go back and look it up, but it's.
Yeah, depending on the cost, I mean, actually, that would probably be almost better than compare it to school if you don't know.
Compare it to yourself.
You compare it to yourself over time, that would actually probably be more beneficial.
I would see more benefit in that than.
In conditions for learning, it has some similar themes and questions. I think the important thing for us is we didn't want to wait till April or whenever when that survey comes out to get that pulse.
So these numbers, I mean, this is really good information, but my question is, and I want to go to safety, right? Because number one priority is keeping kids safe. Okay, so how granular did they get this report? Is it by class? Does it go right down to by class? It's anonymous, right? You guys don't know who's.
Grade level.
Grade level.
So it's grade level. Okay, so you guys don't know who's saying what?
No.
Okay, but you can see what classes may
Correct.
do up or down, because I look at safety, and it's above your 3, so it's 3.63, but to get to 3.63, somebody's had to score you a 2 or a 1. So how do we identify those kids, get to those kids, and improve their?
We'll never get to the individual student, Jason, based upon the nature of the survey. We certainly can narrow to a grade level. In terms of how to roll this out first time, we're not bringing you that grade level data, but you certainly have it and are studying it and thinking about what it means.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because, it's a certain age group that, maybe freshmen coming in high school, they're not feeling so safe. Or 7th graders or 6th graders coming to junior high, they're not feeling so good.
Correct.
It'd be kind of interesting to see what that looks like.
And I think if
how
there
we,
was like an anomaly there where you saw, whoa, there's 22 out of the 50 kids are saying this is an issue, absolutely. We would look. Again, like I said, if there's 7 on here, I want to find out how we can make that number 0. But yeah, if you look at safety in the elementary, I can't speak to the other ones, so I haven't looked at it. The way it's lowered though is kind of interesting, because the first 3 are, I feel physically safe in the lunchroom, feel physically safe in school, I feel physically safe on school grounds, are all 3 very high. And then I'm comfortable answering questions in class, which I'm comfortable asking questions or feel comfortable sharing my information with my teacher are low, so it skews that final number a little bit. In the elementary area, those 3 are significantly higher than those other ones where they say they feel physically safe.
So you almost have to look at the questions to put some context to about what safety what the safety questions really involve.
but even those questions state a lot.
Yes, and
Why
I think.
am I afraid to answer a question in class?
Right.
So we can cross-cut this data in multiple ways, including by domain, by grade, and I think that's just that balancing act you have as a board now. You definitely are not wanting any of this to be secretive, but let's also let them now go do their work.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said, there's a ton of, it
So
takes so
much.
much time just to digest this and
Yep.
kind of cross-reference those questions,
Yeah.
but it's good.
It is good.
It's good stuff.
It's gonna keep them busy with thinking and conversation and planning for a while.
Well, then, like you said too, present the information and get that to parents so that people can kind of understand and have a better, understanding of what the kids are feeling as a whole.
How far into the future do you feel like you would need to say this is a good tool and we want to do it again?
I think you'd have to at least have it another don't have to do it again to see, because you'd want to have some comparison data. So if we did it again in January of next year, let's say, then we could see, whoa, we went far down and, you know, whatever, they don't let us get drinks anymore. I'll just use that one because it's easy. You know, we would want to look at why, or we went way up in this area. What did we do to, what did we do as a staff and a school community to make changes, to make those things go up? So I think you have to have at least a year.
Is that all you guys go for them?
Yeah, yep.
I have a couple more as well. I just, our annual, not annual, but our fundraiser report, that all has to do really the high school end, with our new CTSOs down in the career tech education area. FCCLA is with Mrs. Arment. She's got some soup suppers and she had a strawberry fundraiser. I don't know if you got your flat of strawberries from an FCCLA member, but they raised some money for that. And then we also got the wrestling cheer and with Allie Stir doing all those. And it's just, so I think you have it in front of you? Or-
No,
Okay.
just listing.
So just running down, I've got cheerleading sponsors, got some FBLA, another CTSO. They're doing some work down at Carver Hawkeye Arena, I believe. FCCLA has had Pirate Power Drinks, Soup Supper, and the Strawberry Fundraiser. And then Mrs. Guler, I think this is more of an Alburnett schools, but last Friday night we had the dance-a-thon that was raising money for the family hospital down there in Iowa City. And so that was a good event. But that's really kind of the gist of our fundraiser. Don't see a lot of things coming our way as far as the fundraising that's not on this list right now. And that's the annual report. Any questions on the fundraising? No? And then last but not least, we're in the middle of getting ready to have our second meeting of a due diligence with our 3DE partnership through Junior Achievement and 3DE in Alburnett schools. It's pretty exciting because we are one of 2 schools in the state of Iowa that is bringing this program to the Midwest. And so we're one of the smallest schools that are doing this. So we are meeting with their team and our team and setting the rules and us understanding the rules, I guess, is what it is. And what I really enjoy about it is exactly what we were talking about, with the relevance pieces to it. This is the way that it will roll out. And in 2024, next year, 2023, 2024, we will be planning this for the rollout, the implementation year of the 24-25 school year. So this year's 7th graders will be the first class to have the 3DE program to them as a 9th grade class. And as a 9th grade class, they will have what they call case challenges. And those case challenges have underlying competencies, I'm using my cheat sheet here, of generative thinking, interpersonal skills, objective analysis, leadership, effective communication, and goal setting. And what will happen is, through 3DE and through our teachers that teach 9th graders, we'll spend this next year, starting in August, we'll spend this next year developing those case studies and those activities that all of our 9th graders will do. And every 5 to 6 weeks, they do a presentation to a room full of adults. Those of you that have done the job interview before, I compare it to that a little bit. And then what will happen is they get feedback based on their presentation back from that group of adults. And it's not just like you sitting there as the board. They're going to be working with Target, they could be working with Home Depot, they could be working with a whole bunch of those types of people that will actually come into our school, and they will work with our 9th graders and basically give them problems of what they're seeing and how they want to go about and use those 9th graders to help solve their problems. And so it's pretty exciting. Christine has been there too. She's more than welcome to jump in if I'm missing something.
You're doing great.
But this is the part, this is This is what you road tripped for.
Yes.
And so they give you like a blueprint to.
They are giving us a blueprint, and we're starting that process right now of getting all the Ts crossed and Is dotted. But next August, we will have a person from 3DE in Iowa, I guess, and on our campus, that will be sitting down with our team of teachers, myself, anybody that's on the due diligence team, and we'll be planning this out, and they'll be getting their what I would call their lesson plans ready to go, all in English 9, all in Science 9, all in our algebra classes. Every class that we have all 9th graders in will get this experience of this 3DE program. Extremely excited. It's going to be so awesome for our kids, and I'm just excited to get this thing rolling, and I'll give you more updates as we go, but right now, I think March 10th is our second meeting. We had to reschedule a little bit for this week, but it's just a really awesome experience. I would invite you to a due diligence meeting, but I don't know if that's legal. Is that legal? All right. Because it's just a lot of stuff going on, and it's real life. And the thing that is just so fascinating to me and so awesome is that every 9th grader is going to get to experience this. And they're going to get to be able to team up, and they're going to be able, in a real life situation, and be able to help out a real company. Yeah, and I'm, as you can probably tell, I'm a little excited about this, and I'm really excited just to I just wish this year was gone. I don't want to wish my life away, but I want our kids to experience this. And Mr. Hendrickson's son, Owen, is in 7th grade. He'll be the first 9th grade group. That group will be, and I just think it'll be a lot of fun. So.
I'm going to jump in here just from the board side of this conversation to remind you, I've written to you probably most thoroughly recently. Your role in this is that we're working our way toward board approval of what is MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding. So some of that due diligence process is really fleshing out what that agreement looks like. Will require board approval sometime this spring. So you're going to want to stay really tuned in to anything I'm writing to you or you're hearing from Mr. Mortz, so that when we come to that moment where we've vetted an agreement, legal has vetted an agreement, that you feel like you're right there with us, even if you can't be in the room for every meeting. So please be tuned into those pieces I'm writing to you and that he's explaining to you. So we're ready to roll when that comes around.
I got one more thing from middle school, but I don't have enough copies for everybody, so whoever wants to share. So I've talked about this, in meetings past, and I've written about it in newsletter articles. Our portrait or profile of a graduate, and it's where we're at with that. So that's those 5 circles over here, those 5 areas that we feel that we want students to walk out of here with skills in those 5 areas. It's really important that they're effective communicators, that they're emotionally intelligent, they're lifelong learners. Those skills will transfer to anything beyond Alburnett. So just where our 7th and 8th grade team is at right now with our profile of a graduate. They've been conducting student conferences. So one of the benefits of having grade level PLC, so like our 7th grade science, English, social studies teachers are all together so they can talk about the kids they share. They gave kids this, if you flip through it, as the 5 areas and just some questions, and kids rank themselves. So I can work well with peers who have different opinions. They check it if they feel yes. They don't if they don't feel that way. I speak at appropriate times and do not blurt out. This is 12, 13, 14-year-olds, so it's the skills that we feel at that age we want to see or they need to work on. So students rate themselves, and then teachers and their PLCs collectively, they all have the same students, so they'll decide, well, I feel that Johnny is at this level, or maybe they're excelling, or they have some growth in this other area. So teachers do this for every kid as well. Then they bring the kid in. So the student will meet with 2, 3, maybe more of their teachers, and they'll say, hey, Johnny, we saw that you rated yourself very highly as under the category of people who read. Why do you think that? And we give them a chance to explain, well, I do this or say this, or let them say why. And the teachers will say, well, you know, evidence we have from classes and this, we've seen you do this, maybe we feel that you're here, or whether it's higher or lower. Our teachers are doing a phenomenal job, and the conversations they're having with kids have been is tremendous. And for the most part, kids are kind of ranking themselves right where the teachers kind of think they are too. So they're very self-aware of where they are and where their growth areas are, where they're excelling. And then kids leave that meeting with one goal. So for example, you know, one student ranked themselves very low on, you know, I can pick up after myself. A simple skill, but hey, if we can improve in that area, why not? So the teacher said, well, your goal is, when class is over, take a lap around the room, push in some chairs, look for some trash. There's always junk in middle school classrooms, or they're kids.
Do you have cameras in each room for proof?
And you know, they have witnessed, you know, that some of the kids, so that student in particular, the next week or so, and beyond that, they watched him. He'd go over and pick up this candy wrapper, or push in this chair, and things that he didn't do before that he's now doing, or depending on what the area is. They're seeing students a little more self-aware of those areas and trying to improve themselves in those skills, which again, you know, math, science, English are really important, but you know, those skills will transfer to anything outside of here. So kudos to our, you know, they're not here, but our staff, because they have taken this and run with it, and they are all in on how they can help our kids become better kids with these skills. So that's kind of what's going on in middle school for profile graduate.
Interestingly, very similar to like our employee reviews that we're going through right now, and you do your self-evaluation and then you meet with your leader. It's very similar to that, and so that's very cool to be starting that in middle school.
Thanks, guys. Are you good to go?
Yeah.
Harley?
Yeah, so I had a couple things. Just wanted to give you an update on the certified budget timeline, so we're coming up to that time of year. At the March regular board meeting, so a month from now, we will present the budget, and we would ask the board to take action on setting a public hearing. The way it falls and when our due date is, we will need a special meeting for the public hearing, and I would ask that we do it sometime between April 10th and 12th, so that we can adopt the published budget by the 15th of April. So just maybe a note, I'm not asking on a specific date at this point, but between the 10th and 12th of April, I'll need a special board meeting.
We need to set that now.
No, we don't have to set it now. We will set it at the next board meeting, but I just wanted to make sure you had it kind of in your head.
Okay.
And then my next topic was the superintendent search. So just a reminder on the special meeting on Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 22nd. It's scheduled for 6 p.m. It'll be an open meeting, but there'll be a closed session within it that we will review the applicants. GLS will be here. I know that there's bad weather coming, so we'll just be on the lookout for any communication on that and what we can do. Some things to do before that meeting is I sent out the stakeholder survey summary, if you would review that. They did provide a survey reflection, so if you wanted to like kind of gather your thoughts on that, feel free to. You don't, it's not like required, but it might help you think through what you're looking for in the qualities of the next superintendent when we're reviewing those applications. And then the draft schedules, there were 3 draft schedules for the interviews on March 7th that were sent out. Maybe just looking at those and what you think might work or not work for us as a team. And then the other thing would be committee members, like so if you've talked to community members and if they would like to be part of that interview process, just bring their name and most importantly their email address. to the board meeting on Wednesday so that I can get them in, and get them invited. So, I've heard from one board member on some people that they have talked to, and we also did get, probably like 15 community members reached out to me personally. So, but if there's anyone you're wanting to make sure is on that list, I would reach out to them and get their email address so you have that for Wednesday's meeting. And then just the last thing is we had a total of 15 applicants, which was pretty great. So we'll review those. Questions on like what you could do or anything like that?
So Wednesday night, we're just going over, is it just, are we going through and weeding some out, or what are we doing, I mean, as far as, are we zooming?
So Art will be here. Art, who came and presented, he will be here with us, and he will actually present, I don't know if you remember it, he had a one-pager on each applicant
Right.
that he'll show us.
When
So
they dive in a little deeper.
yeah, it'll be like qualifications, maybe red flags, like he'll have a one-pager, and he also said that they will probably rank them for you. And then you guys will talk about each one of them, and what the outcome of the meeting would be that you'll probably have your semi-finalists that you might want to do a phone screen with. And you guys will also talk about what that schedule will look like for the final interviews and who you might want to be, what community groups you might want to have involved or staff groups might be involved. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, how many, and another question, I guess, how many people are we looking at having per, I mean, you said you had about 15 or whatever that was.
Yeah, I don't know. He did send, and attached to the emails I sent you guys is what he calls a interview planning document. And he kind of talks about, you wanted to think about how many people can comfortably fit in a conference room where we might have these interviews. And so I think he'll talk us through that. I don't
Is that what you
think,
meant as 15 community members? Is that what you meant as 15
Yeah.
community members?
Yeah, I didn't know, yeah.
you're talking about how many people would be in the interviews, right?
No, I was talking about community members reaching out, when you would ask for
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think there's like a hard and fast rule on how many people can be invited to participate in those interviews. I think that he'll talk us through that. Yeah. But I'm sure he'll have more answers for you.
I appreciate the communication you've kind of taken over and, run with that and giving that information to us, so that's good. So.
Thank you. There, today, there were 5 new applicants that came through, so make sure you do get those, so. And then last thing I wanted to just make a comment on was, it's the time of year where we talk about our health insurance renewal, and that's like can be a very costly thing. It's like the best news we could possibly get, we have a 0% increase on health insurance, 0. It's amazing, so, yeah, unheard of. We have a 55.5% loss ratio, meaning that the claims that they paid, that Wellmark paid out on behalf of our staff or our employees and their dependents, was half of what was paid in premium. So they're making money on us, but that's what we want them to do, because then they will do things like it was a 0% increase. We haven't heard on dental. We actually meet with Holmes Murphy tomorrow on our health insurance renewal. I don't know what our dental renewal is, but we're at a 54% loss ratio, so I can't imagine it's gonna be really bad.
So I'm assuming a lot of that has to do with going partially self-insured and
Yeah.
that suggestion from Holmes Murphy.
Yeah, we are doing wonderful on being partially self-insured, so loving the recommendation there and what has come out of that, so, yeah, working for us.
Are they doing, is Holmes Murphy doing any education of our employees, or what kind of education is
Yeah.
maybe coming through to our employees?
Yeah, so we talked about, because it's a 0% renewal, there's not a lot of conversation that needs to happen around the, like, plan itself. But it is still a challenge even on year 2 of our partially self-funding plan. Like, I get questions from employees, like, what, I have an upcoming surgery and they're saying I need to pay $3,000, and I'm like, whoa, like, let's talk this through. So Holmes Murphy is actually talking to us about what kind of upfront education we can do with our employees. And the hard part is it's not all of our employees, because 2 of our 3 plans are self-funded. So we're trying to really talk about how to tailor that through different kinds of trainings and information that we can share to make their lives easier as employees. Because it wasn't to make their lives harder going self-funded. It actually is wonderful for them, but they don't see that in the moment, so we really need to make it easy for them.
And for somebody that doesn't deal with insurance on the daily and they have something like that come up, it's confusing because if they call Wellmark, their deductible is higher than what we're telling them that their deductible is. And so that's where they freak out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that education is super important.
Right, and I've gotten very well versed in talking about it myself, but I wanna make sure that our employees know before they have that moment of
Right.
panic, so, yeah. But that's all I had for my report.
Cool, thank you. Board members, you guys have anything? I just want to comment on the wrestling, the girls and boys. I don't have a dog in the fight, but I got to go down. I like to watch kids and coaches compete, and I thought that on both sides of the students and coaches represented well. I was really proud of them. It was a lot of fun. I know some of them were disappointed, but they did well. So we can be proud of the kids that we sent, the way they acted on and off the mat. So thanks for that, guys. All right, Danny, you're up.
Fiddler on the Roof, if that's your cup of tea. It's one of my favorite musicals, and it's coming right up. What's significant for you to know this year is that it is being held off-site. Joe Fagerson did a wonderful job of seeking what are our good options, and he did, with some help, work with Co-College to get that as our venue. We just have it for limited days, so they get a few practices on it, and of course the 2 performances. And then significant, we got confirmation today with some legwork on Harley's part, a little bit myself, and OPN. Apex is covering the costs of that off-site rental, and which includes the sound and the transportation on the multiple trips we'll be making. It's not connected at all to anything about the project, just a donation for our partnership together. So I want to make sure we recognize that Apex stepping forward, and also make sure you know that that didn't occur to me as an option until OPN brought it to the table. So a lot of good partnership right there. The fundraiser report, thank you, Mr. Mortz. We bring that to you twice a year just for your awareness on generally what's happening. And then E-rate category 2, this is a heads up for something that's coming so that you get a chance to really process it. E-rate happens in 2 categories. Category 1 happens every year. We file E-rate applications for discounts on our internet service provider. Schools also have the opportunity to file for category 2 funding support for other, I'll just say like special projects, certain hardware that qualifies, and you're allowed a certain amount of money over 5 years that the district can receive as E-rate funding. It's actually a discount to purchases you're making, probably somewhere in the range of a 60% discount for an Alburnett. So I've been working with Grantwood AEA as our new provider to really evaluate our infrastructure. They identified very quickly the need to update access points, which is not a surprise to us. There should be a rotation to that and some other infrastructure. So with their help, Harley and I filed an online request for E-rate funding. We've not made the funding request yet. The process is multi-step. First, you have to create this, called Form 470. You post it on the internet, and companies can bid on what you're seeking to purchase. So what we put out there is 75 access points, some of them larger, and I'm not going to go through the details. I'm happy to share this with those of you who are more interested in this. I will tell you that I feel very confident in the people from Grantwood AEA who are weighing in on us. We get kind of a SWAT team, so to speak, with Grantwood AEA. We have a tech who's here very regularly taking care of day-to-day things. This is not their wheelhouse. This is a different team from Grantwood who really specializes in this part of the work. From there, then, and this is another view on their spreadsheet of exactly what we were requesting. So we have received back multiple bids now to this, essentially. I went through the bids with Grantwood AEA personnel this morning. We rated them through a matrix, and we have selected the one that we believe is the best option. So, and we will bring you that as an approval on the March agenda. If you approve it, then we file for the funding from E-rate, and that'll help us offset the cost. So what I want to give you a heads up on is how the scope of this and the cost, the low bid on this is $152,000. It is infrastructure updating that we seriously need. We have plugged it into our PEPL technology kind of line item. There's no way you're spending the whole 152, but when it comes to you on the March agenda, you need to be prepared to know that's what you're gonna approve if you support it, because we have to do that step before we can then file the next Form 471. We get a funding commitment letter from E-rate. Kind of regardless, highly recommend this is the thing you do. We won't go into the details today, but if I turn to that side of the room and ask them to describe our internet needs, we would be here all night. We've got some real serious connectivity issues that is not just the three of them, but our staff in general. And it's really about updating this infrastructure. So I want to make sure you know this is coming. You're welcome to look at any of this. I haven't linked it directly into the board agenda because it's not for approval yet tonight, but it's not secret.
Do you think we're gonna qualify for about 60% of those funds?
Yes. We have done this before. The last time we purchased infrastructure, and it was in that 60% range. So I'm not concerned, nor, and we can show you this in March, nor am I concerned if you had to get the whole bill, which you would not have to. We would not have to.
This doesn't have anything, it's not tied at all to the acquisition of new Chromebooks
Nope.
that we do every year.
No, this is an addition.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just something districts need to be prepared to do periodically, is update these pieces of the infrastructure.
Does it go strictly towards staff, or is it
No,
helping,
it helps
goes
the,
towards the students as well?
yep, and even you, when you walk in here with your device, you want to connect. This is very comprehensive.
And does it help, because forgive me, because I'm not technology, but with any sort of cybersecurity?
There are parts of this that include a firewall.
Firewalls would.
Yeah, there's another, probably more deep and important conversation about cybersecurity.
Okay.
That's not really just that.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is an ongoing conversation separate from this as well. And that is my report tonight.
All right. On to the consent agenda, do we have motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
I'll second it. So moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Let's slide down here to all the action items.
The calendar is in progress, and the action tonight is simple. When we meet next time at a regular board meeting, we need to have a hearing on the school calendar. That is standard operating procedure. And once you approve that as March 20th at 6 o'clock, we get it published and posted so we can have the hearing. I don't have a draft for you to show yet. The committee is still working on it.
You want to decide, can we get that too?
No,
Just
that's an
understand.
in-house calendar committee.
On irrigation.
We need an approval on publishing.
We do have to
Yeah.
do an approval. Okay, go ahead, motion to approve the publication of hearing for 2023-2024 school calendar, hours versus dates.
I'll move to make a motion for public hearing, 23-24 school calendar and hours versus days.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the publication of hearing for 2023-2024 school calendar, hours versus days. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now irrigation.
Okay, I will start kind of high level, and then we'll focus in where you need to. Irrigation system of the football field has been on our project priority list for a while. Recall that in November, so we did a reprioritization throughout the year last year. In November, I did a review for you of that process, so you could kind of get that priority list fresh in your head again. We're working on collecting quotes and et cetera for multiple things, but this one is ready. We have a line item already carved out for this as a priority for football. In the process of going out for these quotes, we also have softball and baseball. We recommend that they all be handled tonight. I have put the softball and baseball figures into fiscal year 24 for you. It fits into your PEPL funding. And I did that even though we're asking for approval tonight, I did that because that lines up with when the work would be done. You would not have to revisit that again in the next fiscal year. You can approve all 3 of them. So that's kind of the high level and how it connects to your already identified priorities. Then to address some questions that have bubbled up appropriately. First, this isn't a question, this is just I need to tell you. We have an anonymous donation, some secured, some in development, toward what I assume to be baseball at this point. So you can assume some reduction here in cost to the district. I'm not privy to give you prices or amounts yet, but we're talking about 4-figure donations, so that is nice to know in the back of your mind. And then regarding some of the concerns that have been sent to me since Friday posting is on the timing. Certainly practicing on the field would be the soccer team's priority or preference. We do have space for them to practice to the west, which is often where they do practice already. 2 potential dates impacted for contests are March 30th and April 13th. We don't know for sure if both of them would be impacted because we don't have the true schedule date. So 2.
I mean, those are 2 game days?
Yes, so 2. And I would suspect that maybe the reason that Nick didn't reply to the second question that I wasn't looped onto, 1, maybe timing, but 2, this has been more of a facilities-based conversation. And in kind of a unique way, Nick is not technically the official AD for that program. We are the shared giving school, so there's some nuances to comments that need to be thought through, but not comments we shouldn't think and talk about. Regarding the why now, what I can tell you about that, and this answers a question you had when you first came in, this has to do with getting on schedules. So we've been told by either company that there's a certain cutoff date in the spring where they can't do this work because they have other commitments that are ongoing and annual with other athletic fields and entities that they work with. Our window is prior to April 15th, which is why I can only tell you that it probably hits 2 potential soccer games. It might hit 1, it might hit 0. I don't know that. But that's our window to get this done in order to get it done on the football field. And then the window is different for softball and baseball based upon their work schedules. This has nothing to do with prioritizing one program or another. I promise you that.
But practice, they can practice back with football.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's all good.
Yes,
So we're talking 2 dates,
potentially. Yes.
and it's just scheduling, just, okay.
Yeah. Beyond that, if you want to return, I am not going to go through the list, but Corey, wanting to be incredibly prepared if he could, regretted that he started on a small piece of paper for the benefits of irrigation because he made himself stop. You all know the benefits of irrigating that aren't just about the facility, they're about staff and time and safety of players and all of that. I certainly can. He was more than happy to provide some.
Well, the bottom line, it's been on our big picture plan for a long time.
So our recommendation is that you would approve the Fleming irrigation quotes for football, softball, and baseball as described timing-wise in the agenda item.
Is the DDM, is that in there just for reference, or do we have to accept the low bid or not on this particular project?
It's not of a scope that would require you to take the low bid. There's no reason you, in my opinion, wouldn't take the low bid. They are pretty much apples to apples, and it is our practice if we seek a bid like this and bring it to the board, we're going to show them all to you so you know that we did.
I didn't know if one of them, I'm familiar with DDM's work, but not with Fleming's, and I just didn't know if either one of them was more well-versed in commercial applications like this, opposed to residential.
Equal.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Corey provided the scope of work.
Yes. And if you're interested, I don't know that it's worthy of time during a board meeting unless you had wanted to look at it prior, but the drawings are out here from, that you can see where the irrigation heads would go, et cetera. I can't imagine that impacts your decision also.
Does this, do these bids, is that all inclusive, or is there other, like, infrastructure modifications that need to be done? for
I
water
believe that-
revenues?
I believe it's all inclusive.
Okay.
I did ask Corey though if like reseeding or anything was included, and he said no. So that, but he did have plans on, you know, we have a very good working relationship with a local company. So we talked about those kind of things, but that was the only question I asked him specifically.
This is kind of off topic, but there's a couple bad spots in that field. Are we gonna kind of look at that at the same time, because
We'll work with Corey on that. Corey's very aware of the bad spots.
yeah, I know it is. It's bad enough. This is-
Nobody
this is-
spends more time, and I mean nobody, including our kids, spend more time on those, yeah. Okay, maybe softball, baseball, football, nobody.
I'll make a motion to approve the Fleming irrigation bid for the football, softball, and baseball fields.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to have Fleming provide the work for irrigation of our football, softball, and baseball fields. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Can we confirm a date and time for the next meeting? 6 p.m. March 20th.
Just confirming it to you. You don't need to confirm. You're good to adjourn.
So we don't get to see each other until like 2 days from now. Unless you want a basketball game. Do I go ahead with the motion?